Two-piece, it's a UFO for real. It's a UFO, bitch. No, we not making this shit up. Look at her, she gonna put It's a UFO for real, y'all. That is crazy. Y'all, that's crazy. It's a UFO for real, y'all. I promise y'all. We got all these people. There ain't no damn street light. My uncle talking about that street light. That ain't no street light, bro. That's a UFO. This a fucking street light right here. This the fucking street light. That ain't no fucking street light. That's the street light. I mean, that's the light beaming down on
you. The first verdict on count one, racketeering conspiracy. How do you find the defendant not guilty? And so now they'll move on to count two. Count two, how do you find the defendant not guilty? That is the sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. On count three, which is Mann Act transportation involving Cassie Ventura, guilty. Count four, sex trafficking of Jane, not guilty. Count five, Mann Act transportation of Jane, guilty. So mixed verdict here. Not guilty on 3 of the charges, guilty on 2 of the charges. Lisa, your reaction?
What's done?
Gone for the walk.
Sacked him.
Right.
I've sacked him.
Because we need each other. What a wonderful, positive message. Welcome, everybody, to Real Deal Media's, well, incredible show called What Say You? Yes, if you're new to this, well, you're in for a real treat. Well, first of all, I'm Dean Ryan. As you can see on my little name card there, yes, What Say You is a wonderful show as we want to break up the monotony of the last just bombastic 2 to 3 weeks of news. It's getting to a lot of people, and certainly I'm one of them. But what's very unique tonight, we're going to get all your questions, comments, and concerns here tonight in live call-ins. And how we're going to do it is we're going to break up every segment, and I'm going to, at the end of every segment, I'm going to look and peer into the live chats, as dangerous as they can be, and I'm going to see what people are thinking. We're going to take a temperature as our virtual thermometer is going to get a consensus of the country, but really a consensus of the world, because that's the kind of show this is here tonight. So what say you? And don't be shy, because there's a lot to get to. As you might have heard, the trial of the century, said somebody. I mean, it was quite a silent one, but the Diddy trial has now concluded, and we have learned some things. We have learned that he had supporters. We'll be talking just how crazy and crunk people are getting in the streets of Vegas and elsewhere. But also, we even have a guilty verdict, and it's not looking good for Diddy. But also, Suge Knight, his rival from West Side. Yeah, that's right. He is now speaking up. I've got a wonderful little clip to share with you, and we'll see what Suge Knight is saying. And I might know a thing or two about a thing or two. So we'll be talking about that. Also, I have some major announcements to make from Trump, who has now announced a huge arrest that is coming down the pikeway. And it is rather significant, and I think it is a symbolic gesture of what's to come. As Christmas is too far from now, it might come early this year. That's what Chris Kringle is telling me. So we'll be talking about that. Also, in the other just hallways of information, we have now something that we didn't even know happened or was going to happen, as the funeral of the slain senators over there in Minnesota is now underway. We'll see what that's all about. Is Tim Walz, who is freshly returned from the Pride Parade. Yeah, he has trying to make his face known as a guy who didn't know anything. He know nothing. And we'll see what that's all about. But he's very suspect. And that's something we couldn't get to because of the riots. Also, something interesting, too, we'll be talking about. We have some foreclosures of some very hallmark American companies. I have been told I have to share with all of you. We'll see if that affects you. I know it will affect me. But also, we're going to just, if you're not a member, last night with our members, our Night Owls, we did a deep dive into the bill. The big, beautiful, bold, brassy, bloated, bureaucratic bill. And what exactly are some of the things that it's supposed to be rebuilding? Because the echoes of Build Back Better is right behind the big, beautiful bill and all the other ones. So we'll be telling you and sharing with you that. Also, another bill that is now sneaking away in Real Deal Politics is going to be a stunner. We'll share that with you, and then we'll get your take on the alleged Idaho shooter. Yeah, the alleged Idaho shooter who is now whispering of a trans Tifa, something we told you that was a forewarned prophecy from yours truly, the great Karnak, just years ago. Some major international news and a segment we haven't done in, a couple years now, quite some time, but it's bringing it back as weird news is making a comeback. So it's going to be quite exciting, plus all of your calls, comments, questions, and concerns. And why don't we just put that in the chats right now? Feel free to help yourself there. This is a bring your own call-in kind of night here. And I'll do my best to be a good steward to that. But let's try some headlines now from around the world, but mainly from the Diddy universe in atmosphere here. Here goes. Well, let's get to it. Yes, Real Deal headlines. It is true. Here is now Sean Diddy Combs. Well, it's not good for him. It's not looking real good at all. It's now Combs, who is, as you saw in the cold opening there, well, he was found guilty on not all charges, but some significant charges, just to name. But it got even worse after that. Yes, he was denied bail. He was denied bail, so he can't even escape to Epstein Island. No, he can't. He can't meet his friend Ellen there either. Well, Sean Diddy Combs, yes, has been denied bail, as you heard. He now will be sentenced in October. A lawyer declares great victory after the mixed update. Yes, after awaiting his sentencing fate, being found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in raunchy, rampant prostitution, the Sean Diddy Combs will remain behind bars. Sad to say for him. A shocking move by Judge Arun Subramanian, who is quite the just cosmic creature himself. Well, mere hours after the New York jury handed the federal prosecutors a walloping defeat, as it's being described, with an acquittal on the most serious of 5 charges: racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. The Bad Boy Records founder, as he wished he was known as, well, he was denied bond after the Wednesday afternoon hearings. Well, having failed repeatedly to secure $50 million bail since being taken into custody by NYPD and federal agents all the way back in September, the All About the Benjamins performer has been in custody now in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center for 9 months now. With his bail bid rejected, Combs is now currently set to be sentenced in October by Judge Subramanian, who just announced it from his bench. Now, however, the defense is angling to move things along faster. That timeline could be expedited, they're now saying. Well, under some arm twisting by Combs' attorneys who are definitely familiar with this matter, the judge set a remote hearing now for July 8th to discuss the sentencing timeline, which I didn't even know was a procedure and a thing people do. Let's just get together to discuss the timeline. Now, here's a quote from one of the lawyers over there, but more importantly, from the judge, subterranean, that is, as he says, quote, prior to the trial, court denied the bail, and I see no reason to reverse that now. Subramanian citing the again and again violence of Combs that he kept exhibiting. Now, outside the courthouse, about 2 hours after this whole ordeal, well, there were some people who were celebrating, and I can't for the life of me think of how that was even possible or even a thing. But they didn't just cry with joy, they cried with joy and baby oil. Maybe did it.
I don't know what she's gonna do, y'all.
Yeah, I didn't know what she was going to do either. That was quite wild. Yeah, so we missed the mini Mardi Gras there, as you can imagine. Well, so this is a big blow to the big, beautiful once Hollywood. And a lot of people said he was not even going to be charged. And a lot of people said he was never going to be caught. No. Well, he concluded by saying, this is a victory for Sean Combs, some of the people in the Combs camp. Now, there are very few people around whom a legal team could even say such words. But there are many people in the camp of Sean Combs are saying they're just blessed to be part of it. Wow. So, a lot of people are talking about it, but let me just go over the specifics here of now what's going to happen. And you're going to see what he has to surrender here. So when they get together, if you're really into court TV, when they get together to talk about the timeline, well, Sean Diddy Combs has to surrender his passport. Yes, he does. He also has to take a drug test ordered by the pretrial services. In all other standard conditions, he has to have supervision. He also has to co-signed by Sean Combs, his mother, his sister, and the mother of his oldest daughter. They at least put $1 million bond, which did absolutely nothing. So that's not even going to be another problem. Also, Mr. Combs will travel. His travel will be restricted to the Southern District of Florida, Central District, and many other hotspots. And I'm even guessing the alligator Alcatraz as well. Well, someone else who has something to say about this, who's definitely familiar with the matter, is rap mogul Suge Knight. If you're not sure or remember who he is, he was a man who was the rival of Sean Combs throughout the 90s. He was the backbone, the muscle behind the Tupac Shakur character, the Snoop Doggy Dogg character, and even Eazy-E. And he currently sits behind bars for racketeering of his own, but he had a thing or two to say as he gives incredible insight to just who exactly is this character called Sean Diddy Combs. Let's hear from him, Suge Knight.
Okay, good. Okay, but you had a guy named Tubby. He used to work for Interscope. This guy's job was to bring underage girls and have sex with employees and other artists, to the point where his friend got caught up with the same thing. How they raided Puffy House for sex trafficking, they raided his friend's house for sex trafficking.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
He never was an artist.
Sure. Can you say something? Can you say something
when you really look at the whole situation?
Because you only got.
I mean, everything I'm saying is positive. And I got to hand him a call right back.
All right, Suge, you call back. Do you think? Do you think that Diddy?
He can do so.
Do you think Diddy knows enough that it's a very delicate balance that maybe investigators will want to know these other names and greatly reduce his exposure to criminality, to time, versus what people would do to keep him quiet?
Number one, I've been knowing him a long time, and we was friends. We're not enemies, but we were friends. He's not a dummy, so he's smart enough to work his magic. On top of that, this man right here, he been involved with the FBI and most of his career. Shit, he got powerful people. One of his partners who started his company with drug money, President Obama, got him out of prison. So it's not like he don't have no moves. So I don't think nobody should just count him out. I don't think he gonna lay down and just crawl in the corner and die. He probably going through a lot of shit right now because he probably going through a lot of withdrawals for the drugs. But the industry got him on drugs. My artist, one of the worst mistakes I could have made was protecting my artist is doing a deal at Interscope. When my artist used to pull up in Valet, the Murdoch building, they'd get out, they'd smell like weed. When they clothes would smell like weed. When they made it to any office, it would smell like weed. Those guys, for my artists, they introduced cocaine to my artists. So once they got on cocaine, once they got on drugs, once they got on alcohol, and that's when the weird stuff happened. And I think that's what took Puffy down that lane. Then you got to remember, Clyde Davis, Russell Simmons, Andre Arell.
Simon, come on.
You better believe it. Alcohol, drugs. He compromised his manhood. Because he was taught that. He got Usher as a kid. They never recorded no songs, but alcohol, drugs, sex.
Well, do we understand what that is? All roads lead back to Obama. And that was very key. I'm glad we heard that. And if you recall in the trial too, and I want to hear from everybody out there, is one of the key items of evidence in the Diddy trial were, if you recall, I don't even know how to describe it, but were ecstasy pills, drugs from the freak-out parties with the face of Barack Obama on them. And you just heard right there, you just heard two things that really stuck out to me. Number one, you heard that there are other cohorts who were providing the children at these parties. And this is what happened at Playboy Mansion, everybody. You understand? So Playboy Mansion, they did the parties at night. And then the after late night party, that's when they bring in the underage bait to compromise people. And this happened at the Playboy Mansion. This happened at Diddy. This happened, and this is why they brought in Barack Obama, who's a big part of this. This is really the nucleus of taking down the entire house of cards. it's one of them. It's a big, significant part because Puff Daddy has been ingrained in the American society for like 25 plus years, 30 years, actually. This is huge. So we're going to see how this goes. I think they're going to try to kill him, or we're going to see how we're going to hear how he killed himself in his own cell because he might take a plea bargain and do the whole Epstein dance, as we found out. Isn't that interesting? So that's how that one is. Now, as promised, let's see what people are saying out there. Well, we have people, here it is. We have Maddie Lynn saying the following. Mama Combs sure did Egyptian, but the rest of the family dressed like a black funeral. Yeah, that's interesting. Yes. Twilight says, oh, bummer. Yeah. Yeah, he's coming. They're circling around Obama. And when I share the next story, you'll understand why too. Let's see. Here we have on Twitter, excuse me, not Twitter, Rumble or my manners. We have John Besleone saying Suge Knight is in prison for first-degree murder. He purposely ran over the victim with an SUV. That's true. Thank you, John. I forgot all about that. He also gave us insight about how they kill people in prison, how they killed Easy. They pricked him with a dirty, infected needle. It's all coming back to me now. Okay, here's another one. Yeah, hammer time. History repeats itself. The oldest trick is blackmail. Yeah, it truly is. It truly is. You know, it'd be nice if Suge Knight would come clean and tell us the truth about Tupac Shakur. Not necessarily that he's, hiding out in Cuba with Trudeau and all of them, but how he was just a fake character created like the rest of that band of the NWA, who were totally put into place, manufactured to offset the public enemy atmosphere. So we know all about that. And okay, so let's get to this one here. Well, yeah, there's now another huge announcement we're going to share with you here of a major arrest. Yeah. And this one is a big one, and I think it's the beginning. So you have the inevitable, takedown of Obama that's coming, and I think the Diddy case is a big part of it. But also now we're going to get into the trafficking and stick with that theme. Is now Donald Trump is now making this announcement of who the DOJ is coming after next.
Why hasn't he been arrested yet? Obviously you guys are cleaning up the mess that was made deliberately for the past 4 years, and so people want accountability. It's great to see that the border is secured, and it's great to see the state level cooperation. But I guess I would ask you, why hasn't he been held accountable, or anybody really?
Well, pardons were given out by to many people, and they shouldn't have been given out. Like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs was given a pardon because they destroyed all of the information from 2 years of hearings, and they should be arrested, but they were given pardons. Was he given a pardon, Mayorkas? Was he not?
I don't believe so.
Well, I'd take a look at that one, because what he did is it's beyond incompetence. Something had to be done. Now, with that being said, he took orders from other people, and he was really doing the orders, and you could say he was very loyal to them, because it must have been very hard for him to stand up and sit up and talk about what he allowed to happen to this country and be serious about it. So he was given orders. If he wasn't given a pardon, I could see looking at that. In fact, why don't you take a look at it, Kristen? He was impeached, but yeah, it was just a fake impeachment. It was a fake impeachment. Why don't you take a look at it? I think he was so bad. They were all so bad. Look, it was the worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he was the worst president. But somebody told Mayorkas to do that, and he followed orders, but that doesn't necessarily hold him harmless. So take a look at it. It's a very good question, actually. Thank you.
So that is quite significant. Just to reiterate what we just heard there, that Trump has now officially asked the DOJ to look into an official arrest. I'm sure there's already an investigation underway of former border czar, I guess we could say, the man who was in control of just everything coming into this country, Alejandro Mayorkas, for aiding and abetting the invasion of the United States. That is quite significant, quite significant. Do we see how it's all tied in? I think we do. If you do want to call in, let me just reiterate this. We have Kim who says, arrest Newscomb. Yeah, that should be that should have happened years ago, day one. Yeah. Okay, here's another one we have over there on YouTube. Monica Lynn saying, our country has truly fallen into depravity. Yeah, I would say this really started in the 60s and it has just snowballed into a Babylonian, just horrible, horrible mess, as you described. We have Egyptian princess saying, I'm so embarrassed. If Sean was my father. Yeah, if Diddy was my father, I would think about, well, I would think about doing probably, I would have to do a transgender change and just everything. That would be horrible. That would be horrible. And then I thought, what if OJ was your dad? You know, and you like, you know, you grew up your whole life knowing your dad killed your mother. That's another thing I think about. But thank you. We have Blondie over there on YouTube. Trump has a lot of dirt on these celebrities because of their stay at Trump Towers. Yes, he does. He certainly does. And that's it's alarming. I'd be a little scared if I stayed there, I'm sure. Let me go to Rumble here. We also have, yeah, I don't know where Q comes into this. We have Rebel Mama who says he loved dancing, singing to the ICE gay tours. Yeah, he would. He would. I'm sure they would just love to have him. If you want to call in again at this time, feel free to do so. Because we're just getting started here tonight. We have a few more stories, and I can't wait for weird news. That's something else as well. Okay, here's another one here. Let's now move ahead before the baby oil starts getting us high on the fumes. Well, continuing now, this is a little update. Well, somebody brought to my attention, they said, Dean, isn't it kind of a weird anomaly how the slain senators over there in Minnesota, which that whole thing, if you have forgotten, because we've lived through World War III or on the brink of it, or proxy wars, all these different things, the riots. Well, right before the riots truly happened, or the protest, or the lackluster riots, well, there was the hit on two former speakers of the House and senators over there in Minnesota who were killed in a shooting by a masked man, a patsy who just happened to have his manifesto on him and said, InfoWars told me to do it. That's all you need to know. And they said, thank you very much. No further questions. Well, somebody said, well, how come there was no funerals? And I said, that's a good question. And it's been, what, 3 weeks now? We have to ask. We have to ask the questions. Well, now, Biden-Harris Waltz attended the funeral of former Minnesota House Speaker Hortman, who was killed in the shooting. I find that interesting. And I find it interesting and quite ironic that Biden's at a funeral. I mean, considering he's dead, but that's just another story. Yes, well, the Democratic former Minnesota House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, she was, killed. And we all remember the video, how scared she was in the last interview she gave. It was disturbing. Well, they honored her legislative accomplishments and her humanity during a funeral just over the weekend, where former president allegedly and current dead guy Joe Biden was there. And the cackling drunk from hell, Kamala Harris, she was there too. And the ironic part too, if I can add to the irony board here, that Tim Walz, who was outed by the killer who worked for him, who said he was advised, strongly suggested, and extremely mandated by Tim Walz to kill these people. See, they're trying to recreate a George Floyd moment in the same area where that fake dead black guy from years ago, where that whole CIA money laundering operation took place. Do you recall? Must I get into that again? Well, Hortman, who was fatally shot 2 weeks earlier, they're saying, by a man who was posing as a police officer in an attack over there in Minnesota. The chief federal prosecutor has called it an assassination. Officially, it's another shooting, also left her husband, Mark, dead as well. Now, what's weird about it, and we never got into it, is just how the video footage, they were just allowed to go in, and it was almost like we were watching a replay of John Ramsey when the cops came to his Boulder, Colorado home 30 years ago for the JonBenet incident, where he was just allowed to go mucky up the crime scene and just have a carte blanche of free range. The same applied here. Same applied here. Now, it's just kind of in closing, it's also worth noting that neither Biden or the other mass bandit Harris spoke. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They sat in the front row. And Tim Walz, who had the nerve to give a eulogy, he said, quote, "To get as much good done for as many people as possible, that was her mission." And he said her focus on people was what made her so effective. What a just cold-blooded killer. What a cold-blooded killer. And allegedly, I should say, until I get that knock at my door. So what do we think about that as we switch lanes now? As Tim Walz, I think, is looking at potential prosecution if that man is allowed to go to trial, don't you think? Here is another one here. We have Martin McClintock saying that Clinton's money stems from drug money. Yeah, I think you'll find it in the Diddy files too. You also find a lot in the Diddy files as well. You'll find out that he's probably behind a lot of the most salacious Hollywood murders and also Hollywood mental breakdowns of our time, stemming from Brittany Murphy to even Britney Spears, who was alleged, if you recall, that big, weird, bizarro performance she had at MTV's Music Video Awards in 2002, where she had the python around her shoulder. Well, it's been alleged that she was drugged by Puff Daddy, by Diddy, just prior to that engagement. And also, yeah, the Brittany Murphy murders. Her and her husband just died weeks apart. He's behind this. And this is what Diddy's been doing a long time as one of the cruelest, most evil, cringe wings of the FBI informant programs he definitely was a part of. And I can name a few here in the independent media if you'd like, if you ask. So here's another one here. We have Mandy Lynn who's saying, was it a rumor that Diddy has the same disease as Magic Johnson? Well, that's then you would have to consider or confirm that Magic Johnson truly has AIDS, but yeah, he could very well be. I know Diddy has herpes because Usher has herpes, which he got sued for, and I didn't know we're going to do herpes talk, but yes. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, here's another one. We have, and the children, Madeline, you're right. We're going to see what happens there. We're going to see what happens. Okay, and finally, Kim Porter. We'll see that one in Rumble. Here it is. And yeah, false flags. It was a false flag. Yeah, isn't it interesting how they really try to recreate everything from 2020? And you know what I mean by that? So on one hand, you have the attempted recreation of George Floyd in Minnesota right before these supposed riots happened. Well, if you recall too, back in 2020, you might remember the contact tracers. They were getting paid big bucks. I knew someone who knew someone who actually became one. They were paying, get this, $64,000 a year. And she asked him at that time, she said, "Are you prepared to arrest people?" He said, No. This is just a beta test for something in the future they won't tell me. Well, I think we know what that is now. Well, get this. If you have Wi-Fi out there, this is what's happening with Xfinity. Check this out. It's called the new contact tracers. Well, the Xfinity Wi-Fi cable company over there in the United States, and you better believe it's happening in outside of the domestics here. Well, they have something called They launched a new thing called Wi-Fi Motion, a new feature that tracks movement inside your home using nothing but Wi-Fi signals. No cameras, no sensors, just your internet bouncing waves off your body to see where you are in case you get lost. Isn't that sweet? And it's automatically included. Your router just became a motion detector. Lucky you. Welcome to the next phase of surveillance. It's also called convenience, if you can believe it. Yeah, it is. Also, we can make an announcement too. The FDA has just announced a new safety warning label will be put on all of its mRNA COVID miracle jabs, citing extremely high risk of myocarditis, long-term heart effects in young people. I can't believe that. That's really sad, isn't it? Really sad. And one more just a headline that's kind of really sad as well. Well, if you're just a staple at grocery stores, we all here, all of us here in the United States, we all have those historical American brands. Well, I am sad to say that one of the most historical grocery staples has now filed bankruptcy after, get this, 138 years on the shelves. And I'm talking about Del Monte products. It's just another sign of the times is the consolidation. Yes, who can forget the cream of corn? Well, now Del Monte, 138-year-old company behind some of America's most recognizable treats, things we have with dinner, is now a thing of the past. Sadly, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and protection today. Just something we grew up on, and it goes beyond canned corn, they're saying, and peaches, and don't we know it? We loved them. The soup broth, the corn, the cream corn, the beets, the lima beans, all the other just incredible stuff. Yes, it's the end of an era. Well, that brings us to some real deal politics. Let's get to it. Real deal politics. Let's talk about it because we have issues. Well, here it is now. We dissected the big, beautiful, bloated, bureaucratic bill, believe it or not, just last night after the World at War show. Well, now, upon further investigation, we found out a few things. Well, one of them, people are asking, well, what exactly is the big, beautiful bill building besides AI and defense contracting and you name it, and reparations? Well, it's building a police state, many experts have said. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party's floundering over immigration leaves it without any opposition to strategy, many experts have said. It's true. Well, amid all the frenzied just in people who love it and want it and people who don't like it, well, Donald Trump's signature domestic policy bill, it passed just last night. Much of the controversy spurred by the sweeping legislation concerns it eviscerates the healthcare coverage, a stunning $1 trillion in combined cuts to Medicaid. Now, the state-based program funding healthcare access for low-income Americans and allied coverage to poor patients under the Affordable Care Act is probably going to be a thing of the past like Del Monte. But the bill, which emerged out of the Senate just last night, the reconciliation session, if you recall, well, it has $150 billion in outlays to expand what people are calling horrific surveillance state. And we just had an example of one with Xfinity. And that's just a little hors d'oeuvre. Yeah, this isn't no joke. This ain't no game. Well, they're calling it horrific surveillance state. Detention, rendition regimes created under the Laken-Riley Act. The measure will carry out Trump's pledge to make the terror wreaked by mass immigration custom enforcement officers. And this is one of my biggest concerns, too, is just like we saw the buildup after 9/11 to protect the American people with the Patriot Act, some of these things, and a lot of these things always and sometimes most oftenly get turned on the American people. There's never a sunset. It's hard to get rid of them. And we just had an example just last night when we were talking about the TSA. I mean, we're still taking our shoes off for a just mysterious terrorist guy who had an alleged bomb in his shoe, which was a dud provided by the FBI, just dud department. If you recall, we're getting the invasive pat-downs because of the underwear bomber, which has now been proven to be an entire false flag predicated by Michael Chertoff, who wanted to install the naked body scanners into the airports, which was already set to go. So here we are again What do we think this is going to be in the name of safety? Continuing now, the scale of the proposed increase in ICE funding alone makes people say it's a grim dystopian reading. Yes, the ICE annual budget for detentions would skyrocket to $3.4 billion in the present fiscal year to $45 billion until the end of 2029 fiscal year. Now, you could debate that. ICE was totally and extremely defunded under the Biden and Obama regimes. There's no doubt about that. However, they're now saying the ICE detention budget is larger than the total budget for U.S. aid and what it used to be. Now, the ICE detention budget increase is larger than cuts in education or for the food benefits in the BBB here. It is larger than the cuts to NIH, CDC, and cancer research combined. It's on a scale of a type of supplement budgets that the United States passed when engaged in foreign wars, if you can believe it. So, I don't know if it's justified or if the fact that we just have they're really going to try to get rid of 30 million migrants in this country. And my concern is what is the next guy going to do with some of the powers of the Oval Office? Because we know under the National Defense Authorization Act that Obama forced in, which stripped the Smith-Mundt Act, they can black bag American citizens at will with no due process, no Miranda rights, and no Geneva Convention at this point since we're under War Powers Acts. Now, these massive giveaways are earmarked for agencies that shown a regard for the fundamental protections afforded to all Americans by the rule of law. Now, so in this expansive bill and all the raids happening, you're going to see a large uptick is what we learned last night in the defense contractors. This is their incredible just Christmas dream, this bill. There are billions and billions of dollars going to Mars, for instance, billions and billions of dollars going to the defense contractor, or as we know as the military industrial complex, which bring the weapons of war always back here home to roost. What are your thoughts on that? Am I being hyperbolic? Do we know what we're talking about here? Here we have, this is what I'm worried about. Cam over there in California, the EMFs damage our cells. Look it up. Well, that's true. We're going to have a lot more of these EMFs, and they've been using these type of tools since the mid-90s illegally. That's one of the things we learned from the Jean Bonnet case. State troopers have been using these type of intrusive tools of surveillance since 1996. Everything we saw in Tom Cruise's Minority Report is now upon us. It's all here. Now it's being done in the name of security. And, one thing that always stuck out to me that Ron Paul used to say, what if the rules of engagement to keep people out of this country are really the rules of engagement to keep people in? And I think the biggest incentive for people to go back to where they came from is a fair playing field, but also get rid of the incentive. I mean, look what it's done to England. England literally traded the mascot bulldog for the new mascot camel. That's what's happening. And doesn't sit well with me. Looking through the walls, X-ray vision. Something all of us high school guys used to maybe think about sometimes. Moving on here. Well, here's another bill that has now passed or about to pass. We're not sure yet, but we know we're passing the threshold of understanding and civility. And I'm talking about a new bill in U.S. Congress now would give, get this now, would give the country of Israel, our greatest ally, and that loves us dearly, the U.S. Congress would give Israel access to B-2 stealth bombers. That's right. That's right. Your tax dollars will give them not just the homes for all the settlers, but also give them the B-2 stealth bombers. Under a bill submitted today over there at the U.S. House of Representatives, Trump would be allowed to authorize Israel to use the B-2 bombers and bunker busting bombs if it is determined that Iran continues to develop nuclear weapons. I mean, what if they use that on us? Well, U.S. Congress members from both sides of the aisle, yeah, the Uni Party, have now introduced the bill in the House of Representatives that grant the president the authority to allow Israel to just do that exactly, B-2 stealth bomber gifting, which is the ultimate sign and gift of love. Yes, when you can give them the weapon to kill. Well, according to a proposed legislation now currently awaiting approval, yet sadly has been disclosed, sadly for them, this would enable unprecedented operational cooperation, including deployment, equipment, and training, but without transferring permanent ownership or direct control to Israel. So it's like renting. That's right. It's like just a small rental fee, like getting a U-Haul. You know, you get a Penske truck, and then you get a B-2 bomber with it. It's the new thing, really. Well, today the United States has never transferred such a gift before to any country in our history since the founders. We haven't even given the 747s. I believe we tried to give Boeings away, but no one wants those anymore. Well, now Fox News has reported that as of 2024, last year, the United States military maintained 24 active B-2 bombers. Well, that's about to change. Well, these stealth bombers are the bunker-busting, big, beautiful bomb machines that fly above the air when they're not busy having the X-ray vision into your homes and your pockets. Well, they're busy busting the bunkers of the boogeyman this year, which is Iran, back with a vengeance. Yes, how interesting. The leading state sponsor of terror. It's no longer Russia, it's now Iran. Very easy. Yes, here it is. If Monica Lynn says, America's soul is attacked, we won't have the weapons or military to protect it. You're onto something. You're getting it. Yeah, the road to hell is with good intentions or just very poor intentions and choices. Psychopath Wars over there on Facebook. Thank you, Claudine. She says, Psychopath Wars. Yeah, it makes no sense. And you know what doesn't make sense either is we're going to hit a hard break here. When we get back, we're going to get into some very weird news that you're going to love to hear about. It's going to be very bunker busting. Also, I need to warn you about the lone wolf attacks that are coming July 4th. Some say in New York City, some say in Frisco, some say just in our imagination. Well, we'll find out what the Dream Police have in store for us. We'll talk about that and get into the inner depths of the Idaho shooter. Yeah, we will. And also some very weird news about the Dalai Lama who's back in it. Can you believe it? He's, he might be retiring soon. Somebody alert Richard Gere immediately. You're watching the wonderful What Say You right here on Real Deal Media. We'll be back after this quick break. The Senate Minority Leader over there, Chuck Schumer, was taken to local hospital just this morning for, quote, dehydration treatments over there at the Northeast Battles, the Battles Hospital at the Northeast End and wing of D.C. Well, the Brooklyn Democrat, who is allegedly 74, became lightheaded while working out on a stationary bike in the Senate gym, a source has said. There seems to be a lot of accidents that happen in the gym. If you recall, Harry Reid, remember, he was just on the treadmill and he fell down, broke his arm, had 2 black eyes. Now we have Chuck Schumer, Amy Schumer's grandfather, I believe, or uncle, who almost died of dehydration and just a battle wound to the head at the gym. Well, he was diagnosed with pneumonia just years ago and even tested positive for COVID in 1984, several years back. And he's been dealing with minor symptoms. Oh, and here's the updated report. I can now sadly tell you, I can report that Representative Schumer, Chuck, well, it's now officially confirmed that he has been released from the hospital and he's on his way back to the Capitol building. But the good news is Chuck Schumer is okay and the world can go on. We're all happy. In fact, we're so happy. Even his wife is happy. Look at that, just wonderful wife. There's the Schumers. Yes, they are. Even Tim Allen's happy too. I mean, that's just how it is around here. It is a family affair. Oh, it gets better every time. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to What Say You. I am still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you to midnight and beyond. Tonight is brought to you by Real Deal Media members who make the world go round. Yes, they do. You can become a member. Join tonight. Join today. Join the cause. All you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv and get a inner-depth excursion and ticket to paradise as that's supposedly where we're heading. And you might have seen it earlier, the new Summer 25. Summer 2025. And if you are the boys of summer, well, then you are invited. You got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv. And when you get there, just so you know, all you got to do is also use promo code Summer25 for a whopping discount you don't want to miss. Also, I'm happy to tell you, starting Monday next week, starting July 7th, that is, at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's back to the 80s. Yeah, Real Deal Media's back to the 80s all week, 80s week. You don't want to miss this. That's going to be a real stunner. You're going to see guest appearances throughout the week from Mike Adams, who is going to be recreating some incredible 80s music with all of us. We're going to be re-looking into the Iran-Contra predicament, which we're still kind of in some regard. Also, the mysterious Challenger explosion. Yeah, very strange, very strange. So that is Monday, July 7th. Mark your calendars. And I do want to invite people, if you want to be part of our wonderful 80s montage, feel free to email us. And you want to have if you find a wonderful photo of yourself from the 1980s, whatever you were doing back then, and you want to be part of our Real Deal Media montage that week, feel free to email us at info@realdealmedia.tv. And we're going to put a really heartfelt little 3-minute montage within very, very montage music. You're going to love it. Don't want to miss that. So info@realdealmedia.tv. Okay. Thank you for sticking around. Yeah, 80s will be fun. Seth, you're absolutely right. Monica Lynn thinks so too over there. We need to get your subs up this year. Is one of your best YouTube channels. Well, good luck on YouTube. Every time I get close to 7,000 on YouTube for the past 5 years, they start deducting. Yeah, I mean, they deduct regulars too, so it's a throwaway channel. But thank you, anyways. I should be at 250,000 by now. We can certainly try. Is anybody using Telegram? Does anyone still use Telegram? A lot of people are telling me Telegram is falling by the wayside. They're losing the popularity game to X. Well, we're on Telegram. I see a lot of people leaving. I see a lot of people coming, but not staying for long. But if you're there, you can find us. We're going to stick with it as well. Okay, we have people on Rumble who are saying, Hammer Time is saying the New World Order is your safety, is for your safety. NW is for your safety. No more freedom for your safety. This is my safety. Kami. You know, I've always loved riddles from Rumble. That's one of my favorite parts of the job here. Thank you for that. And finally, yeah, Seth, Gremlins and Ghostbusters. Yeah, we're going to be getting into some of the top three. And Claudine is scaring me. She's saying, bring real mafia back. Okay. We're going to bring sexy back and the mafia. Wonderful. We'll see what we can do. Thank you for that. Okay, here's a few more things here as we continue in some real deal politics that you should know about. As now, well, this is quite interesting. This is actually quite interesting. I'm happy to report, or indifferent, depending. Well, Trump's DOJ now, the Department of Justice over there, with Pam Bondi at the helm, the very strong, sturdy Pam Bondi, whose word is as good as gold. That is, if you get the gold from Tijuana. Well, get this now, a former FBI agent now accused of inciting Donald Trump supporters to kill police officers during the Jan 6 attack on the Capitol has been given a job at the Department of Injustice. Interesting. I should say alleged inciting. Well, his name is Jared Wise. I've never heard of him, who was charged but later pardoned by Donald Trump with more than 1,500 others connected to the 2021 piss poor Capitol riot, or as Nancy Pelosi calls it, a Broadway excursion, will serve as a counselor to Ed Martin. Ed Martin, who is the director of the Weaponization Working Group. I mean, there's so many organizations and departments within. It's a new discovery every day. It's just incredible. The newly formed group now, established by the Attorney General, the great Pam Bondi over there in February, was tasked with reviewing politicized actions against Trump, but is seen as another example, they're saying, of federal agencies using a retribution model against political enemies. Well, you know, that's what happens. It's called the law of physics, relativity. You know, pick one. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. You hurt me, I kill you. You know, same thing. Well, yeah, Martin was now officially put in charge of this weaponization group just a month ago after his nomination for the top U.S. attorney post in Washington, D.C. was pulled because he spent years defending, even raising money for Jan 6 defendants. So, you know, I don't know much about his story. I really don't know much, but, you know, what really perturbs me about that whole ordeal, and I really would like to hear from Sidney Powell about the inner workings of it. And I have a friend who was actually a lawyer for one of the defendants. I'll bring him on. But it really just perturbs me that Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers was not given a pardon. And I believe Joe Biggs is another example of that. And these guys lost everything. And I tell you, Stuart Rhodes was totally innocent, set up, and even expressed to me how he wanted to walk away from this whole thing before any of that happened. It's a really sad state of affairs. Anyways, moving on to this now. Well, here's something else. We've been told to be very afraid of Iran, and it's been ingrained in our head right when we were getting over being afraid of Russia. Yeah, and then Al-Qaeda before that, and then the cavemen from the Afghanistan training facilities. Yeah, there's a lot to be afraid of. And even some of the white supremacists we had to be afraid of. Well, all that doesn't matter now because now you have to be afraid of Iran because the FBI, the DHS are now warning of lone wolf attacks once again. It's like, okay, we got it the first 10 times. Is there anything else that we should do? How do we prepare? Do we just hide under our beds? Do we wear camouflage? Do we wear a lampshade over our head? What would you like us to do for this little cosplay directed by Netanyahu and his supporting directors? Well, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Insecurities have said, yeah, the lone wolf attacks are coming and they pose the biggest threats the country's ever seen. This coming blockbuster July 4th celebrations, but particularly in New York City and, yes, San Francisco, which we have a lot more to be afraid of if you're walking around in San Francisco. That's right. Check your shoes, if you know what I mean. Well, the intelligence bulletin sent out ahead of the just incredible holiday coming up here, they're warning of copycat attacks and homegrown extremists. Well, that's not the memo I got. I got the Iranian memo with the itinerary of, what turbines to look out for. Now you're telling me homegrown extremists. We need to speak to the playwright, just the scriptwriter of this whole thing. Well, here's what they're saying. They're saying, quote, we are concerned about the potential threat of the copycats inspired by the 2025 New Year's Day vehicle ramming attack in New Orleans. That's right. I don't remember it either. Well, in continued messaging from foreign terrorist organization, the FTOs, for all you acronym collectors out there, they're calling for attacks against Western targets. Yes, Western targets. Now, officials warn that the attackers in New York City and San Francisco could be motivated by a broad range of grievances. Just a very broad range. So broad, we can't even tell you. With particular concern over outrage tied to the conflict between, you guessed it, Israel and Hamas. Yes, choose wisely, they said. Of these actors, U.S.-based violent extremists supporting the FTOs and domestic violent extremists not linked to FTOs, well, they represent two of the most persistent threats. This incredible bulletin, big, beautiful bulletin is saying, well, it says lone offenders in particular remain a concern due to their ability to often avoid detection, eye contact, or even deodorant in some cases. Well, the agencies specifically cite worries of, quote, malicious actors, violent extremists. Some say, well, that's describing Corey Feldman's new music. Have you heard that? Wow, it's pretty violent offender and quite malicious. Well, during the July 4th events, you should know that your First Amendment protected demonstrations with weapons and chemical irritants, bodily fluids, and other hazardous materials are all at play. Drones could pose a threat too, authorities saying. Yeah, they are. The warning comes just weeks after an Egyptian man in Boulder, Colorado, that you have yet to hear about or of, had Molotov cocktails. Easy on the ice. To attack a march in support of Israeli hostages, leading to at least one death that we're aware of, and a lone shooter who killed 7 and wounded dozens others in the 2022 4th of July parade over there in Highland Park in Illinois. Yes, I do remember that. That was the beginning of the Trans-Tifa. So see, I mean, we got one out of the 4 deadly threats we need to be concerned and pray about here. So there you have it. So that is the FBI's wonderful annual Happy 4th of July bulletin we got to share with all of you. Yeah, we did. And now we're going to have a little look at just exactly who should we expect as the guest for our 4th of July picnic. And I'm going to share this with you as we get into the mix of it all. As we now look into the killer from Idaho, who is alleged, I should say, but only 20 years of age. This is how they're presenting it here, and I'm quite insulted because my intelligence is quite big and beautiful. Here it is. This is coming from the TikTok. Well, the alleged shooter, Idaho's TikTok mentions fear and furies, the furries that Jim Fetzer didn't believe was real, and we proved him wrong, and organ selling. Okay, so here is Harry Potter meets Justin Bieber meets Miley Virus. And he's only 20-year-old suspect. Now, does anyone buy this for a minute? We're led to believe that a Harry Potter, furry, just wannabe pothead, gender-bending fluid person is really the mastermind and architect of something that killed all those firemen. I don't think so. I don't think so. In fact, you know what? Now that I mention it here, look at this right here. Here is new photos that have emerged from Coeur d'Alene firefighter shooting suspect. I mean, look at the sketch here. I'm not even sure this is a real person. Looks very AI to me. So there is not sure if he's a man or a girl or a boy. He's certainly a rebel, they're saying. So yeah, his name is Rolly. Rolly alleged the fire. Let me give you his name here. Where are my manners? So TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok, and nor will I ever be. But anyways, this person is called Wes Rolly. Good Lord, is anyone buying into this? So involving 300 officers. So we're led to believe this person set blaze to a forest fire to lure in the city firefighters to then become a marksman and start shooting them. This is so bad. I'm not even sure it's a real person. Like I said, that looks like an artificially intelligence patsy. They couldn't even get a real patsy. They had to get an artificial intelligence. This is not even believable by just a speck. By a speck. What say you out there? What say you? And look at this video here. Let me show you this video because this is I don't even know if I want to turn the sound up, but this is the video of the alleged shooter, Wes Rolly, who I'm not sure is a boy or girl, or even human at this point, as we've been just so bamboozled, lied to, and all over again. It's quite disgusting. Here is Wes Rolly. Check this out. My life revolves around her. Okay. Makes no sense. So if somebody studies this, okay, look at all of the MK Ultra mind control symbolism everywhere. Let's dissect this here. Okay, so you have the usual cartoon that's used by the trans Tifas. There's a lot of subliminal messaging in that. But if you look at the hearts, and there's other people that are much better in the game of Clue than I am, but you can certainly see, yeah, it's definitely a guy with eyeshadow and smoky eyes and eating Oreos, so the bad ones. But yeah, I'm not buying this for just a long shot. They're not even telling us what this alleged shooter did, what they shot with. Very interesting. Okay, we have now this to get to here. We haven't done this next segment in quite some time. And that's going to bring us to weird news. And there's 3 weird news stories back to back. And the first one, I think it really covers the subliminal messaging that are in cartoons, but it really goes back all the way to the 1930s, starting with Steamboat Willie.
Mickey Mouse cup. You have a cup that has stuff written on the inside. A Mickey Mouse cup specifically has Mickey written on the inside. And when you're drinking liquid, you can see the reflection on the surface of the liquid. And the reflection actually says wicked.
You think that was premeditated?
Yes.
You think that's why Walt named his infamous character Mickey?
Yes.
Did it catch you off guard?
No, I had always known in my gully that Mickey was wicked, just filthy. You can actually see Mickey in a factory in one of his episodes where he's making Swiss cheese. And basically what he's doing is there's a conveyor belt and he's taking each one of these blocks of cheese and he's putting it up to his area 1 and poking a hole through the cheese with it. So he's actually going like this to the cheese.
Because he's making the Swiss.
Yeah, he's making holes in the cheese with his
Here,
mouth.
officials say it's one of the most dangerous streets in all of Los Angeles. And now,
lingerie. So anybody who knows LA at all knows trashy lingerie. It's an iconic institution on one of the most trafficked streets in LA called La Cienega Boulevard. And every woman goes there to get their custom lingerie, regular lingerie, cosplay stuff, and Halloween costumes. And the other day, in a barely reported story, Tracy Schreier, the owner, was getting choked by one of her sons, her 61-year-old son, and beaten with a baseball bat. And Randy, the 58-year-old son, hears the screaming because the mother's house is behind the store, runs over there, sees his brother on top of their mother, beating her with a baseball bat and choking the life out of her. And he grabs a gun, he fires a warning shot. The brother continues choking the mother, and he gunned down his own brother. And the LAPD quickly figured out what happened, and it was ruled a justifiable homicide, and Randy was back at work the next day. But how crazy is this that no one knows about it?
Weird news. That is definitely weird, and so is this story here. U.S. plans to begin breeding billions of flies to fight pests. Well, I say, what could go wrong? That sounds like another brilliant idea, if you ask me. Yeah, didn't we see this? Their targeted pest that is a flesh-eating larva of the New World screwworm fly. The New World screwworm fly. Just say that one time, and you're lucky if you can. Also, to complete our weird news excursion here. Well, there's also a new discovery in the world of dinosaurs. This one is quite interesting, and I don't know if I can pronounce it. I don't speak French too well. We'll look at that. The Nigerosaurus dinosaur had over 500 replaceable teeth. Not to be confused with the moon cricketosaurus. No, or the Sambo. Well, this one has fed close to the ground using its wide vacuum-like mouth to graze efficiently on soft, low-lying vegetation such as ferns, horsetails, you name it. Its teeth were arranged in rows within the jaw, forming dental batteries that allowed a continuous replacement as older teeth wore down from constant feeding, of course, and grinding their teeth. So the evolutionary oddity is never, well, it never shocks us around here, does it? It really doesn't. Okay, on that note, I'm going to hear one last time here is we've seen a lot of things here. We've seen the UFOs. We see a lot of UFOs coming into play here with the last chapter is going to be the UFO disclosure, where we get to meet our cousins from outer space. That seems to be exciting. What say you out there? We have Monica Lynn who says, looks like a puppet or Muppet. Who, the dinosaur? Does he really? Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. It doesn't look real. Yeah, I think you are right on money. Here's something else that, we failed to realize or look real. That trial with Diddy. I mean, can you imagine if they had 3 more counts on him? Well, then it would be impossible because Maureen Comey, the daughter of the communist Comey, Papa Comey, well, she's not only the head of the Epstein prosecution, but she's also the head of the Diddy prosecution because she's a hard worker. Isn't that right, Diddy? Yeah, man, that's right. So there you have that one. Thank you for that. Here's another one here. We have Seth Black who says, I don't believe in dinosaurs. Well, we're going to change that. Have you seen Jurassic Park? They're real. Okay, we have Lynn Marshall, the advisor over there. Crazy world it is. And also, let's have a look-see at this one. Hammer Time says, never believe in anything the cabal says. Yeah. We have Kenny 59B who's saying, what is Kenny 59B saying? Kenny, please help me. He's saying, never believe what the cabal says. He also said there's a video showing the satanic and, the Satanism in cartoons like Monster Inc. It's full of adrenochrome and satanic symbols. Who remembers Fantasia from Disney? And did you know that the Mickey signature, it spells wicked upside down? I mean, I learned something new on that one. I did not know that. Thank you for it. Okay, we have also we have Hammer Time saying if they say the Earth is round, if they say the Earth is round and moving, it's flat and still. Yeah, we're not sure. I mean, until I can go to Mars, because they're allocating billions and billions of dollars to go to Mars. Incredible. Okay, finally, we have Mr. Wetland saying the 80s I remember after 1985. Okay, I'm afraid to ask why, but I'm dying to know. And finally, Rebel Mountain says, we always learn something here, Dean. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you for that. That is Rebel. And yes, Monica Lewin, you're absolutely right. Walt Disney was a 33rd degree Mason, Freemason, and he was a Satanist. That's hard to accept, really. It's hard to believe, really. It's hard to believe because, I just remember, I'm from Orange County, so naturally Disneyland, which is in Anaheim, was just around the corner. It's something that you just went to every year annually. And I have nothing but joy and just great magical experiences from my times with Disney. And in this new reality world, living in the Twilight Zone 2.0, it is it's hard to accept that, but the evidence is clearly there, right in front of us. Clearly there. Okay, and they'll never make it to Mars. Well, we're going to offer one more time. If you want to call in on their What Say You, as we're kind of changing formats, as you see, a little bit as we're making maneuvers, because somebody is, okay, feel free to do so, and we'll give you a chance to do so. We'll be right back in 30 seconds, I believe. Yes, our final segment is upon us. I can now pronounce that as tonight is not possible without the viewers. So we are a viewer-supported effort here. And you can do that, and we thank all those who have, by going to givesendgo.com/realdealgo, because all your efforts go to making this operation possible. Okay. Yeah, that's true. And that leads us now to final thoughts. Indeed. Final thoughts. Final thoughts is here. Yes, and still brought to you by that. Thank you. Final thoughts as we end our incredible What Say You moment here, where we've learned about so many things that I can't tell you one thing that it was, because there's so much I have to really just, lay in the sand by the beach, process it all, let nature take its course, and have a introspective look. And I think that's what is needed at times as society becomes more tribal and the cognitive becomes more dissonant and distant for some. You're going to see people peeling off because the amount of reality, the nature of it, and the true texture of it is quite much for some. Well, for others, and I'm guessing some of us here tonight, it's not enough. Because once you understand the power plays, once you understand the script, the blue book, and once you learn from something called history, well, then you can have a idea of what to expect, but also an idea of how to never let it happen again. And so as we see the charades fall, the dominoes in the house of cards, I think Diddy could be and will be the head domino to fall. And I should also add Mayorfist too. That was such great news, wasn't it? Such great news. Okay, I will be back here tomorrow night. And also, don't forget next weekend, or excuse me, all next week, 80s is back to the 80s. You have Max Hedron, you have Ronnie, you have Cyndi Lauper, you have the Prince, E.T., everybody, even the deco art girl from Everyone's Salon in the back right. Is she ever just not in a barber shop or salon? I mean, she's still there today. You know what I'm talking about? The woman in the back right. You could go there right now. She's still in the salon, books, magazines. Anyways, that begins Monday night. And also, our sale is upon us. Go to realdealmedia.tv for the most. Okay. Thank you very much. In the meanwhile, for all of us here at Real Deal Media, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night. And always remember to stay tuned and stay awake. A good night, everybody. I need to meet myself. No one else. I'm feeling supersonic, imagine Johnny. You can never know, but now how much do you want it? You make me laugh. I've got it all around. No girl called that she's in the rock with Santa. She's a new can on the supersonic train. To find out no one's on down on the moon about. You need to find a way of what you want to say. Mom, before tomorrow. My friend said I'd take you home. Sit in the corner of the room. He lives on the one phone. Nobody can see him. Nobody can ever hear him call. Nobody can ever hear him call. Oh, no, no. My friend said, take you home. Sit in the corner, now alone. He lives on the one phone. Nobody can see him. Nobody can ever hear him call. Nobody can ever hear him call. Nobody can see him. Nobody can ever hear him call.
Hello? 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 Hello?